Today I'm making a video called Why Do People Become Evil? Simple as that. It's a very complicated subject because there are many possible factors that play into a person becoming evil. And that's something I've kind of been interested in for a long time because it's an unusual phenomenon in nature that a person becomes fundamentally evil, yet it does occur. So I want to discuss that in today's video. There will be no editing, no like fancy this and that. So if you want to like do something else while watching this video, there will be nothing on the screen besides me yapping, right? So look, some themes which I'll mention are my own beliefs, how I believe that when you're born, you are naturally pure, you are closer to that God source, how the birthing process creates that separation, and how the birthing process is so misaligned with nature and natural laws that it creates a susceptibility towards destruction and kind of sets the foundation towards a person becoming evil. How we have susceptibility, I will discuss it through the homeopathic lens. Homeopathy being an alternative form of medicine, which I study. They have a very unique philosophy when it comes to health and disease and why disease occurs, and that's something that I'll intermingle into that video. Also, the subject of suppression, suppressing that inner evil, how that ties into parents. I'll be discussing certain historical characters, such as like a very angry Austrian guy or Aleister Crowley, if you know who that is. Then I will be talking about how the world is set up to create evil people, how the world and whoever runs it thrives of evil people. And yeah, morals versus money, how this realm is reversed, how evil gets rewarded and good gets you punished. And then also, I'll go a bit into religion and karma. So, you see, this is going to be a very weird video. And I just want to, before I continue speaking, mention that this video is so not for everyone. If you cannot, like, if you don't like dark stuff, I mean, it's a very like wide scale of what you can consider dark or not. But if you're like very sensitive towards any of the stuff I mentioned, this is probably not the video for you. But look, let's get into it. Now, I believe that when souls reincarnate on this realm, planet Earth, they are not fundamentally evil. I don't believe that. Yet, so many things are put into place to make you evil. And it all starts with the birthing process. And even before the birthing process, what the parents have dealt with, what the parents have experienced, all the trauma, all the misfortunes, all the worries which the parents carry within themselves up to the point of conception, and then the gestation period when the woman is pregnant, and then birth. But let me focus on birth for a moment. Now, with birth, what happens? The birthing process is extremely unaligned with natural laws. It may be conducted violently using various drugs, which, if used on the mother, make their way through the umbilical cord to the baby, meaning that if certain drugs are used on women during childbirth, the baby gets a dose, right? And now that I mentioned the umbilical cord gets cut very early on during the birthing process, which is something fundamentally unnatural. The umbilical cord should only be cut when it stops pulsating. As long as it's pulsating, there is that connection being built up from the mother to the child. It is that fundamental connection to the mother. And what happens when the umbilical cord gets cut too early is it creates a separation from the mother, literally tying to like the separation from God of Adam and Eve. It's that separation which is the fundamental of all future disease, something that they call in homeopathy miasms and psora. Now, right, that thing should only be cut when it stops pulsating, you see? And then certain religions and cultures practice circumcision, which is weird to mention, but if you research it and how it affects the psyche, it is so powerful. It is such a tool which gets used to kind of suppress a person from the very start. It fundamentally damages your psyche. That's something you can research for yourself. I'm not going to talk about that, but then what happens is you are put onto a cold metal scale to be weighed, right? So, like, you literally just spawned here, and now someone takes you from your mother, cuts off a part of your penis, cuts your umbilical cord, separating you from the mother. A nurse is touching you with gloves, which is lack of heat, lack of human contact, then puts you on a cold metal scale where you're alone. I think that process alone is enough to create a little bit of trauma for any given person. So that's where it all starts. And they say that like psychopaths or sociopaths are not they're not created. It's that they are born that way, and they are born that way because there's this fundamental chemical disbalance which sociopaths and psychos seem to have, which is why they are unable to process empathy, certain emotions, which is why they can later on in life behave the way they do. It all starts literally at birth. And for me, it is very surprising how people seem to function in the world with such practices still in place, because it is so misaligned with natural laws. And the moment you steer away from what nature intended, that's when disease and perversions occur, which is what disease is. It's a perversion of health, right? So, look, where do we go from here? Yeah, now there's a susceptibility. Susceptibility is your kind of how susceptible you are towards being influenced by a specific external influence. For example, a person may be very susceptible towards being offended. That means that it takes less offense to get to that person compared to any other person. It is how sensitive you are, how you react to things, how you are wired as a human being, right? That's kind of susceptibility. I could have explained it better, but I'm kind of raw dogging this video. So yeah, with susceptibility, everybody is different. And why I believe that evil is able to occur in the world, why genuine evil people can become created, is because certain people have a heightened sensitivity, a heightened susceptibility towards becoming evil. Does that have to do with past lifetimes? Does it have to do with genetics? Does it have to do with their trauma or their parents' trauma? All of that can be taken into account, right? But some people are more prone to it from the very start. Although I still do believe that you are not born evil. So look, we have something. Okay, before I go on to talk about Aleister Crowley, let me mention that evil is an instrument for survival on this planet. It is much easier to survive and thrive on this earth if you have less morals and if you are a bit more evil. You just seem to have the upper hand, you can make more money, you can become more successful, you can climb any social hierarchy 10 times quicker if you let go of your morals, if you let go of your beliefs, your virtuous good morals, the good side of you. There's a direct correlation between that. So, people are born kind, but they become disillusioned by the cruelness of the world, meaning that that spark of goodness, that initial spark of pure goodness, slowly gets diminished by the darkness of the world. And it's a slow process, but it is like a virus that grows. It's like a tumor that multiplies. It just continues and continues. It's like a seed that gets planted, and then eventually it's gonna grow to become a big tree, you see? Um, and I feel like, okay, let's get into some weird stuff. I feel like whoever runs this world, and if you believe, if you're the type of person to believe that, like, oh, the president, the government, that they're, you know, they're on my side, they're the ones in charge. Sure, I believe some other stuff. You can read about it, research it for yourself. Don't go too much into it because you're gonna lose your mind. But there are people above the president and people above the president, and somebody is at the top of that very pyramid, right? And whoever is at that very top does not thrive off goodness, meaning that it is that the world is going to be created to optimize the chances of a person becoming traumatized. Because if a person becomes traumatized, they can become a robot that feeds that machine. Do you understand? There are so, like, I don't know who is gonna see this and understand this. There are like very specific people who I'm talking to who are gonna completely understand what I'm talking about. The rest are just gonna be very confused about any of the stuff I've said so far and any of the stuff I say. So if you're still with me, you might know what I'm talking about. Um, yeah. So look, we have that's something I'll get into later at the end of the video, but I want to talk about Aleister Crowley. And for example, if you're familiar with who Aleister Crowley is, he was called the wickedest man in England, um, literally by like the UK government back when he was alive, because he was this dark wizard, this occult guy, did a bunch of crazy rituals, did a lot of dark stuff. All right, give me a sec. Cool. And basically, why did he have that susceptibility towards becoming this monster? It is because he grew up in a strict Christian household, for example, and maybe he had this higher susceptibility towards becoming evil, but he was never allowed to practice it in a form where he doesn't harm anybody, or in a form which can be moderated. You see what I mean? Because the world does not include, does not like put attention and focus onto people like Aleister Crowley. They only pay attention to such people after they've done something like horrendous. But until that is the case, no one really pays attention. If you watched like the Jeffrey Dahmer documentary on Netflix, I haven't watched the whole thing. I just like read some reviews, and people say that like before he was able to actually start going crazy, there were so many steps, so much like development in his character that led him to that point. And that series and people who have reviewed it, they criticize how the whole system is set up, from education to the law system, jurisdictory system, policing system, prison system, because they don't pay attention to such people before they start to go crazy, right? And I believe, and so does the homeopathic philosophy, is that suppression is extremely dangerous. I was a bit scatterbrained right now, but I'll make it make sense. Now, suppression in homeopathy, they believe that like if you have like a skin rash, right? You have like pimples on your skin, and you use like a cream and suppress that disturbance of your body, that disturbance is going to go within through the Hering's law of cure. If you suppress something outside your body, it's going to go deeper within, and later on, it is going to manifest as a tumor, as some disturbance in your heart, in your kidneys, in your inner organs, because you have taken an expression which of your body, because your body needs to express itself through disease. You've taken that expression and you've not paid attention to it. You suppressed it You haven't given it any like space to do what it has to do. You drove it inwards, and that later has a great violent um, perversion of health, such as a tumor or a disturbance in a specific organ. You see, I just mentioned it through like the medical lens so that you can understand what I'm doing with the psychology. You see, because it's all tied together. All of it is tied together. Literally everything is tied together, right? But the more subjects you study and the deeper you study certain subjects, the more you can connect the dots between certain stuff, which is why if you study tarot, astrology, numerology, um, the Kabbalah, like chakras, stuff like that, it then becomes very interesting to connect these dots, which is what I do a lot on this channel. But yeah, that's literally like that's one of my favorite things in this life, actually. Like straight up, that's one of my favorite things ever is like getting to know a lot of things on many different subjects and then having that internal web, like a spider web, where you can connect the dots. Yeah, everyone has their thing. That's my thing, you know. I like connecting dots. Yeah. Maybe my parents bought me like little, you know, those kids coloring books where you like connect the dots and in the end there's like a bear. In the At the start there's only like dots with numbers, then you connect the dots and in the end there's like a drawing of a bear or something. Maybe that had a very big impression on me as a kid, and ever since then I've been chasing that high, that initial high of connecting the dots. That's funny. Cool. Yeah, look, with people like Aleister Crowley, right? They had Christian parents, all of that. So his internal evil, his susceptibility for evil becomes suppressed from the earliest age. He's not allowed to express his dark side in a way which is not going to harm anybody, yet also in a way in which he is able to get that satisfaction, you see? And that causes a huge suppression where that inner evil just builds up and builds up, which is suppression. But it's like suppression is like trying to put a lid onto a volcano. You put a lid onto a volcano, the volcano pushes and pushes, the lid becomes stronger and stronger, pushing it down. But bro, you can try your very hardest. A volcano is gonna burst. You see, a volcano is gonna do what a volcano does. You cannot put a lid onto a volcano. Some people come into this realm as volcanoes, and the world is gonna put a lid on them and suppress them and suppress them and suppress them until eventually that volcano bursts in now a perverted, destructive way, full of complications, full of delusions, and full of like mental perversions. And that's where you see people like Aleister Crowley or psychopaths, sociopaths. You see, it is because, yeah, the world isn't designed for these people in a sense. These people are not taken, like, no attention is paid to these people until they do something crazy, which is when they get put in jail. And that's it. But it is such a, like, unproductive way to go about things. Something to think about. Um, yeah, look, let's talk about morals versus money. Now, look, as I've mentioned before, I have met a bunch of rich people in my life. I know a bunch of rich people. I'm not going to get into how or why, but I've talked to them. I know a lot of rich people is what I'm trying to say. And let me tell you, there's a direct correlation between how much you're willing to give up your morals and how much money you make and how much success you accumulate during this lifetime. Morals hold you back when it comes to you achieving that crazy success. Look at like Wall Street bankers, right? Look at a person like Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street. Now, this person, I've actually met him, and I'm not going to put an image up because you don't have to believe me. I truly don't care. I'm over here talking about weird stuff anyway. But yeah, and like when I met him, there were guys like taking pictures and like people were saying like, "Oh my God, I love you so much. My life is complete now. I can die now in peace knowing that I've met you," right? And look at Jordan Belfort, right? Everyone loves that movie. In the financial circle, people love him. He's like an idol. He's like an amazing character that people look up to because he was able to achieve a certain status, a certain success, and live a certain lifestyle. But what did he have to do to get there? He had to steal money from poor people. He had to cheat. He cheated on his wife. He treated his kids horribly. He cheated a bunch of people. He is fundamentally not a good human being. Yet those are the people who the system rewards. Those are the people who run the world. You see, those are the people who are in charge. The psychos actually run this place, which is why, if you're a good person, this realm does not support you, does not reward you. How often do you see a lady work as like a cleaning lady or like work at in a supermarket, works her whole life, works hard, is generous, is kind to other people, treats people with nothing but love and respect and kindness, has good morals, goes to church, something like that. Picture that lady. How often in this round does that lady get rewarded? Never, never. It never happens. Good people don't get rewarded in this realm. Obviously, you can be a good person and do all that good stuff and still become successful. But what I'm trying to say is that it is much more difficult compared to giving up your morals, giving up your values, and doing that in the pursuit of money or success. You see? Um, and that is tied to the subject that this realm is reversed. This realm is reversed, dog. Like straight up, this realm is not what you think it is. Because in this realm, evil gets rewarded and good does not. So that ties into the subject of religion because people have been religious for as long as humanity has existed. And that is because people have a fundamental belief or knowing that there is something outside of this physical existence, of this earthly realm. You see, there's something outside that. And religious people, they are willing to sacrifice certain like pleasures of this world and live according to certain moral principles or the principles which their religion places upon them because they believe that this realm is like a test. This realm is a test for you to build up your karma. You get karma by everything you do. There's good karma, bad karma, right? And religious people who actually practice their religion and who are actually good moral people, they believe that they are going to sacrifice this existence, but then they're going to be rewarded through the afterlife, which is heaven in Christianity, for example, or Jannah in Islam. So that's that. And then, kind of the opposite of religion, we have Satanism. It's not the opposite, but it's on that scale of belief. And Satanists, they believe that there is no afterlife and that this realm is all there is to it. They believe that this is heaven, which means that you need to live out all your dreams, all your perversions, all your desires. You need to really live in excess, do all the degenerate stuff you've ever wanted to do, have no morals. Not that I'm explaining it very badly, but it's the fundamental belief that this is all there is to it. This realm is all there is to it. And in the afterlife, there's nothing there. It's just pure darkness. So why would you limit yourself? Why would you, not do the immoral things you want to do? You see, which is why, yeah, I mean, that's that belief. So there's this difference, right? It's like, which pill do you take? Do you sacrifice things in this realm and therefore remain a good person, possibly getting good karma and having like a good afterlife, however that may look? Or you do all the insanity you want to do in this lifetime, have no morals, give it up as soon as possible, and then let's see where it goes, which is the satanic belief. But yeah, that's kind of that. I've expressed some ideas. I think I've talked about some crazy stuff. The people who understood what I said in this video, they understood it. The rest didn't. I kind of did my best at explaining what I wanted to explain. And yeah, I mean, there are many factors when it comes to why a person may become evil. We have money, we have power, ego, control over others, anger, addictions, economy, too rich or too poor, simple boredom, abusive sense of humor, lack of morals, bad education on a cultural societal level, lack of happiness, lack of love from others, raised by evil people, fear, being alone and shut down, ignored by others, bad language used by others without reason, radical beliefs, unfulfilled dreams and ambitions, high expectations. There are many things in this realm that want to influence you to make you evil. And now here comes the thing, which is how do you deal with evil people? How do you respond to them? And my belief is that the most evil people need the most love. They need the most support and understanding and kindness shown towards them and directed towards them. But that is exactly what this realm does not provide for these people. Because, yeah, it just kind of gets encouraged almost. But the most evil people need the most love. So the most evil, let's say, people you know need to be treated well, because if you treat evil people badly, if you treat evil people with evil, you are simply repeating that cycle and you are not breaking that curse. You are not solving anything by responding to evil with evil. You need to respond with love. And that is difficult, you see? That is the difficult part. It's much more easy to become evil than to be good. You know how difficult it is to remain a good person your entire life? It takes much more effort than just becoming evil like a lot of other people and then reaping the fruits which come with that. You see? So it's a fundamental decision what path you're going to walk in this life. Are you going to give up your morals or not? You see? Mm, yeah, so evil people are the ones that need the most love, kindness, and understanding, because only that way are you able to go through that evil and transmute it into light, transmute it into the initial spark of goodness which people have when they come into this realm. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Um, yeah, it's a very, very weird video I made here, but here we go. It's out now, so thank you for being here. Let me know your thoughts, and yeah, see you.